Hello, I'm Robert McKay. This is the Christianity on the Bottom Shelf channel. The idea is to take elements of Christianity, whatever they might be. I've got a list, and some of them will require a series to deal with, but I'm trying to take elements of Christianity and to steal or borrow or otherwise bring into my use. Yes, I'm tangling my thoughts in my teeth. It is not hard to tangle my thoughts. But to whatever I do with the phrase of J. Vernon McGee, put the cookies on the bottom shelf where everybody can reach them. This is the first video I'm recording in 2026. It is now 01:03 on the 2nd of January, 1:03 in the morning, so I missed by an hour and 3 minutes, or what have you, recording this video on the first day of 2026, but no matter. I have no clue when I will upload it. I have several videos in the can already, and what I do, unless it is a series, and I don't have any series in the can right now, what I do is I stick them in a randomizer, and whatever comes up at the top of the list, that's what I upload that Sunday. About the only thing I can be certain of is that I will almost definitely, it's almost a guarantee, upload this video in 2026. It isn't likely that it will go through 52 randomizations, because there are 52 weeks in a year, and never come up at the top of the list. That would be very unusual. What are the odds, somebody asks, and I quote Mr. Spock. I have not computed them. I wouldn't know how. What I want to talk about today is this question: what happens when you die? And don't listen to the commercials. You will die. There's a commercial I've heard on the radio here in Albuquerque, not recently, but I think the last time I heard of it was back in the fall. And I don't even remember what it was advertising. What stuck in my mind was the utter ignorance and stupidity of one particular part of the commercial, where this guy, a talking head, I'm sure he's just a local low-paid actor, he says something to the effect that the doctor told me if I didn't get a kidney transplant, I'd die. Well, yeah. And if he did get a kidney transplant, he would die. With the transplant, he might not die as soon, but I guarantee you, every one of y'all will die. You know how many people have not died in the history of humanity? 2. There was Enoch, who was not, because God took him. And there was Elijah, who went up to heaven in a chariot of fire. Every other single one of the billions of people who've lived on this earth has died or will die. Don't fool yourself. You will die. It may be tomorrow, it may be next year, it may not be for another 73 years. I'm 65, I'll be 66 in April, and so I can look forward probably to another 20 or 30 years, which would make me 85 or 95. But sooner or later, I will die. Even if I never end this channel, even if I make a video or upload a video to this channel the very same day I die, I will die and the channel will end at that point. You will die. Don't let the commercials fool you. No matter what you do, no matter what medical procedures you have, no matter what supplements you take, no matter how healthy you eat, no matter how much you exercise, you will die. You won't expire. You won't pass. You will die. Face reality. Hiding from reality merely causes more problems, and we're going to get into that. I hate long introductions, but in this case, it was necessary to make the point, because my aim here is to explain to you what happens when you die, and you need to understand and believe and accept that you will die. So, we turn to the 9th chapter of the book of Hebrews, and let me see. I'm going to begin reading in verse 24, although that's not my focus. For Christ did not enter holy places made with hands, mere copies of the true ones, but into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us. Nor was it that he would offer himself often, as the high priest enters the holy places year by year with blood that is not his own. Otherwise, he would have needed to suffer often since the foundation of the world. But now, once at the consummation of the ages, he has been manifested to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. And inasmuch as it is appointed for men to die once, and after this comes judgment, so Christ also, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time for salvation without reference to sin to those who eagerly await him. Now I went back to verse 24 for the simple reason that that is all one thought. Hebrews is a very logical book, and that's one of the reasons that I for a long time believed the Apostle Paul wrote it. Paul was a logical writer, a logical theologian. But there are various reasons why it cannot possibly be that Paul was the author. I believe that whoever is the author, and let me go back a bit, I think this is actually a transcribed sermon. It has the feel and the format of a sermon. And I believe that the preacher of the sermon was probably a follower of Paul, had learned from Paul, because there's a lot of Pauline thinking in here, Pauline style thinking, and a lot of logical thinking. And so in this passage we have a progression. We begin with what Christ didn't do, and we go on with that. And then finally in verse 28 we first see it in verse 26, what he did do, and then verse 28 summarizes or climaxes the thought with what he did do. But in verse 27 we have, it is appointed for men to die once. So there's no reincarnation. Get that thought out of your head. If you believe in reincarnation, you don't believe God. It is appointed for men to die once, and after this comes judgment. There are people who, when you call things by their right names, you call their adultery sin, you call their gluttony sin, you call their gossip sin, you call their addiction sin, and I understand addiction is where you need whatever you're addicted to. But you place yourself in that position, and so it's sin to submit yourself to anything other than God. You know, whatever sin you call by its right name, you say that it's sin, you say that those who do it are sinning, And there are people who say, you can't judge me, only God can judge me. That ought to terrify you. When you defiantly reject the reproof of someone who cares about you and calls you to turn from your sin, you ought to fear the judgment of God on your rebellion. Elsewhere in Hebrews it says, it is a terrifying thing to fall into the hands of the living God. Our God is a consuming fire. Only God can judge you. It is appointed for you to die once, and after this comes judgment. You want God to judge you? You just wait until you die, and He will. And His standard will be the same standard we've been giving you all along, His Word, His character, and He will not accept excuses. And when you have said, only God can judge me, He will look at you and say, yes, I can, and I am. Do you really want to face the judgment of God for things that are wrong, that you have done in rebellion against the judge? What happens after you die? Judgment. What is the basis of judgment? Well, some might say, it's what I do. I do good and I do bad, and I try to do more good than bad, and hopefully the good outweighs the bad. It doesn't. And even if it does, what is your motive? Is it the glory of God, or is it your own skin? If you are doing what you believe God says is good in order to avoid punishment, that is a selfish motive. It is not the glory of God, but your own welfare that motivates you, and your selfishness is in itself a sin. Others might say, well, God is love. He could never punish me or anyone else. So you really think Adolf Hitler gets off? The man who slaughtered 6 million Jews and millions of others in the camps, and who started World War II in Europe and devastated a whole continent, you think he gets away with it because God can't punish anyone? You think Charlie Manson, one of the most evil manipulators in the history of mankind, God won't punish him? You think that conquerors and dictators and bullies and tyrants get away with it? That is what you must think if you genuinely believe God won't judge me, He's love. If He lets you get away with sin, He has consistently to let everybody else get away with sin. And yes, Adolf Hitler slaughtered millions. You haven't. Sin is still sin. Rebellion against God is still rebellion against God. And if you were in Hitler's place, would you have been any better? There are people in the United States who don't know what the word means, but who love to call people they disagree with fascists. Do you know what a fascist is, by the way? Fascism is a form of socialism which leaves the means of production in private hands, but then has the government control what those private hands do. Communism is the form of socialism where the government doesn't pretend anymore, it just owns the means of production. That's the only difference between fascism and socialism. It's all, or between fascism and communism, I mean. It's all socialism. So when you call somebody a fascist, what you're saying is he's a socialist. Well, the people who do it are socialists. So they're saying, hey, you're a fellow socialist. But they don't know it because they don't know what they're talking about. And I don't remember how I got off. Oh, yes, I do. There are people in this country today who call those who disagree with them fascists, not knowing what they're talking about. And yet the people who hurl that epithet are exactly the ones who perpetrate mass shootings, who shot Charlie Kirk to death, who twice tried to kill Donald Trump, who go around punching random women on the street, and who have the blood of millions of unborn children on their hands. Judgment will come to all such people. It will come to us too. And so what you do is not going to save you from judgment. You can call everybody else a fascist all you want, but if you approve of the murder of Charlie Kirk, then you have that murder on your own soul. Had to check the time. I'm wandering a bit, and I try to keep these things fairly succinct. What is the basis of judgment? It's this. Are you righteous or unrighteous? Are you godly or ungodly? I've already said that what you do cannot save you from the divine wrath. So when I say righteous and unrighteous, godly and ungodly, I must mean something other than that, obviously. And that brings us to verse 28. Christ also, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time for salvation without reference to sin to those who eagerly await him. Are you eagerly awaiting the return of Christ for the final judgment? Or do you hope he delays so that you can go on sinning and get away with it? Or do you fear his return? Or do you not even believe that he's returning? It's appointed to you to die once, and after this judgment, and the standard of judgment is, what have you done with Christ? What is your attitude toward Christ? Do you trust him? Is he the only thing in your heart and your mind and your soul that you depend on for salvation? If so, then yes, the judgment God will render upon you is he's righteous, he enters into blessedness. If, no matter whether you call yourself a Christian or not, if Christ is not the only thing to you, the center of your life, the reason for what you do and why you do it, if what he says is not your absolute rule, if you depend on anything or anyone else in any degree to save you, then the judgment on you will be different. It will be, this one is unrighteous, this one is ungodly, this one has no part in Christ, this one departs into eternal fire. What happens when you die? If you have given yourself to Jesus Christ, in our phrasing, you go to heaven. If you have not, you go to hell. Now, theologically, we can dispute those two phrases and talk about the eternal state, the intermediate state, all that, but it's really that simple as far as our purpose is concerned. If you have committed yourself to Christ, you go to heaven. If you have not committed yourself to Christ, you go to hell. That's what happens when you die. And at this point, then, there's only one question you need to consider. Have you? And if you haven't, What are you waiting for? Do you really think you can anticipate the minute of your death and suddenly throw yourself on Christ 5 minutes before your last breath? Let me give you an absolute ironclad guarantee you can't do that, and God will know your insincerity anyway. Today is the day of salvation. Now is the time for you to believe. Right this instant is the time for you to commit yourself to the Lord Christ. There is no reason to delay. There is no reason to wait. There is no purpose in going on another minute. If you don't do it now, God will see that, and it will be an element of His judgment against you.